what's messed up? The fact that the world thinks that it's totally normal and it's totally fine for you to just have some kids, drop them off at a daycare, not see them for 80% of the day, see them for a couple of hours in the evening, and that's it. And no one has a problem with that. Like, it's totally fine. Like, you have a child, you bring a child into the world, and then you're so stuck to afford to live that you have to palm them off or put them in a daycare for the entire day while you go and make money, missing out on their growing in their life. And then that's normal. Like, that's just a normal thing. When did the world become that? Has it always been like that? That doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit right.
This is Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city! It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Shalom. Kahala Yahweh Bashem Yashai. Bashem Rakal Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, as the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about this video and just the things that he's addressing about how this is not normal. That being the rat race, which is life here in America. I'm sure a lot of you who watch these videos know what's going on, understand that America, or what the Bible refers to as you see here, Babylon the Great, is really a farm for prisoners and tax slaves. Okay, now first and foremost, the main prisoners here in America, Babylon the Great, would be the Israelites, the Negro, Latino, and Native Americans. But it's pretty much a prison for anybody who comes and lives here and is part of the what now is pretty much only the lower class. Because if you haven't been paying attention since 2008 and really 2001, when that whole Twin Towers thing went down, America switched from being a nation that had a lower, middle, and upper class to just being a lower class and upper class. And this is because what's going on here in America is a communist revolution, right? We're still in fact in the middle of it. Basically, we're living through what took place in Russia when the Bolshevik Revolution happened, or in Germany during the Weimar Republic, where the Nazis came into power. That all happened, right? And also in China, the Big Red Revolution. Okay, all these were all done by the same group of people, which are the Edomites that the Bible refers to, who today we would know as the so-called Caucasian race, or also the Israeli race. Okay, but they're both basically they're all the same people, even though they call themselves different names and claim to have different ethnicities. They're all the same people. They're Edomites, okay? The descendants of Esau. And just like their biblical curse that they would be fugitives and vagabonds upon the face of the earth, they are running from their true identities. But prophecy doesn't lie, and it shines a glaring light on who people are. This is how, when you follow the blessings, the prophecies, and also just historic and archaeological evidence, you find out who is who according to the Bible, right? For example, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans are predominantly the 12 tribes of Israel, okay? You're going to find 12 tribes of Israel in every other nations out there because, again, we've mated with every other nation. It's just like every other nation has mated with everybody else. There's no clear-cut, distinction between one nation to another nation just because of all the sleeping around and mixing that all nations have done. But again, I digress. Let's get back to this, right? Babylon the Great and the not so normal life that you live now here in America, right? And like I was saying earlier, The reason why all these things have changed is because we're going through this big, new world order switch over. This is the introduction of the beast system that the Bible warned us about, that would come in the end times, that would come at the will of the Lord, and that he would basically put it on the devils of this earth, the Edomites, to bring forward this agenda, right? The people you see sitting down here, the Freemasons, the occult classes, all the things that you're seeing happening right now, from the psyops on TV, the football, games, making people go crazy, to the whole cultural revolution of lifestyles, debauchery going on right now. All that is a mechanism to get America into a new way of life. That being in a communist satanic system that's going to be worldwide, which again is going to be part of the New World Order, right? This is the system that Esau, these Edomites, are seeking to set up. Okay, you could hear about it at the World Economic Forums where they talk, and ultimately, this is all the will of the Lord. And why do I say that? Well, because again, this is all part of the curses that would fall upon us Israelites if we went away from worshiping our power, right? That being the Most High Father of the Bible, right? Yahweh, which is the true Hebrew name of God. Okay, that's Hebrew for He is. Well, we went away, and first the Lord separated us, right? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and just like the Bible says, right? When a kingdom is divided against itself, it cannot stand, and we eventually fell. First the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, and because how we fell away from the Lord ultimately put these curses upon us. These curses that He would destroy us, He would spread us out throughout the entire world to the four corners, and that we would ultimately serve our enemies, okay, in a land which we know not, on the other side of the earth. And when you look at America, it's on the other side of the earth, and it's no coincidence that the Negro, Latino, Native Americans are on this side of the hemisphere, but that our archaeological roots prove that we came from the Levant area, okay? But again, now that you understand that America was ultimately made to be the final place of captivity for us Israelites, which is why, again, you find us on this side, let's go to the curses that will come upon us, which would explain what this man's going through. Now, this man that made this video, he looks like an Edomite, but again, when you look at his features, he had black hair, I think he had like brown eyes, right? And he's talking about a laborious life. He may just be an Israelite, but again, that's ultimately for God to sort out, right? But the point being is that he's living under the heavy yoke of Babylon the Great, just like us Israelites. And so this life that this man was explaining, it's very familiar to the life we're all living, okay? But I like the way he explained it to make you think about, is it really normal for us to be away from our children or from our family and basically just have time to come home, eat, shower, and then reset for the next day, and only have basically 2.5 days, if even that, on the weekends to get your own things done. And then after 40, really 60 years of working, you get 5-10 years of relaxing, and then you die. See, this place, it's a trap. And this trap came because of curses. And these curses are like this. Let's read it. Deuteronomy 28 and 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee. So right here, if you want to read all the curses that fall upon the Israelites, us Negro, Latino, Native Americans, as a people, you could read just Deuteronomy 28, starting at verse 15, all the way to the end. See, when you read these curses, you could clearly see who these curses apply to today in the world. It doesn't apply to the Arabs who are filthy beyond measure, or these Edomites which own every facet of the society that matters, or the Asians who have their own kingdom going, or the Egyptians who can have their own country and their own system of wealth, and they also had their kingdom in the past. Same thing with the Ethiopians, the true Africans, the Armenians, the Turkish people. All these other nations do not fulfill these prophecies. So again, this is how you know who they are. Another curse is this. Let's read it. This is Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh Bashim El Shai shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Right? And when you look at the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, right? And you look at our collective history, what's happened to all of us, right? We've all have been conquered by a nation within the Edomite nation, right? Be it the English, the Dutch, the Spanish, right? Or the Amalekites, or the so-called Jewish people within the Spanish, which are really the top tribe of Edom. Okay, so the point being is that we went through these individual captivities, all to end up in the end, right, being colonized, re-educated, and now serving in a society which, again, it doesn't matter if you think you're free, right? Working to basically for close to about 40 to 50% of your taxes being taken away. And you may say, oh, well, they only take out like 10 or 8% taxes. Yeah, but what about all the money that you spend, right? Remember, you get your paycheck, they take the taxes from there, right? Federal and state. And then besides that, then when you get the money, you then start spending it. You got to pay taxes on everything you buy, okay? And on top of that, at the end of the year, right, or I'm sorry, the real end of the year that these Edomites still freaking go about, in April, they require you to do your taxes. And the thing is if you haven't paid enough tax, right, on top of everything that you had to pay, you have to pay more tax, okay? Or they'll give you more money back if you've overpaid in taxes. But the point being is that we are all serving our enemies, right? The nations that had conquered us and destroyed us as a people, who took away our heritage and our land and our resources. So now we are a lot freer now, or should I say we have a lot more liberties now, right? The brother Barak told me about, reminded me about that, right? There's a difference between freedom and liberties, right? And that's ultimately what Americans have. We have liberties that are provided to us by the government that's over, right? So even though we may think we're free, we're not free, right? We're very much slaves. This is why you had, check this out, you have a family from Canada fleeing into Russia.
Канада уже не та, и мы не чувствовали, что наши дети в будущем будут там в безопасности. Там слишком много левых идеологий, движения ЛГБТ, трансов, много того, чему мы бы не хотели.
It's gonna be hard to read, but you just read here. A Canadian farmer has recently just migrated to Russia with his wife and 8 children to escape communist Canada and their ideological school system. So again, just like what happened in the past, man, how these other nations, fell into communism. America and Canada, they're falling into communism, okay? And it's time for America to go down along, with its, supporting nations, right? NATO, which is the beast described in the book of Revelations. But again, I digress, right? America is ultimately this place for, for captivity, for us Israelites, okay? And that man, in the video in the very beginning, he was experiencing it, right? And he was basically seeing the invisible bars on his prison cell here in America. And this is to show you here that me saying that our society has changed isn't just me making it up, right? So noticing the lifestyle, I'm sure we all notice that the quality of life here in America has gone down. Things have gotten more expensive. You now have to pay for more things, right? This is why, right? It says the top 1% of Americans have taken $50 trillion from the bottom 90%, and that's made the U.S. less secure. Let's read this. This is really kind of where it starts. Right here. It says, this is not some back-of-the-napkin approximation. According to a groundbreaking new working paper by Carter C. Price, and Catherine Edwards of RAND Corporation. If you're unfamiliar, the RAND Corporation are these big think tanks that basically send recommendations and studies to the government that the government then uses to create policies from. Okay, so this is real information. Had the more equitable income distribution of the 3 decades following World War II, 1945 through 1974, merely held steady, the aggregate annual income of American earnings below the 90th percentile would have been 2.5 trillion higher in the year 2018 alone. That is an amount equal to nearly 12% GDP, enough to more than double median income. What does the scripture say about this place? Besides it being a land of, full of robbery, this is Wisdom of Solomon 15:12. But they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain. For say they, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means. Okay, and that's the American way, right? Though it be by evil means. Continuing, enough to pay every single worker in American in the bottom nine decile an additional 1,144,000 a month, right? That's spiritual. Every month, every single year. Price and Edwards calculated that the cumulative tab for our 4-decade-long experiment in radical inequality had grown to over 47 trillion from 1975, right, to 2018. So you see that's when the shift in the economy happened. Okay, so this was a very small change that took place. This is why there was always, every year things got worse and worse, and it only took from 75 to 2018 for us to be in such a bad condition as we are today, right? It says, at a recent pace of about 2.5 trillion a year, that number we estimate crossed the 50 trillion mark by early 2020. That's 50 trillion that would have gone into the paychecks of working Americans had inequality held constant. 50 trillion that would have built a far larger and more prosperous economy. 50 trillion that would have enabled the vast majority of Americans to enter this pandemic far more healthy, resilient, and financially secure. But you see, this isn't the place for people to succeed. This is a place for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer, and the poor not to realize what's going on. Okay? And but the thing is you would think that after all these horrible things that took place to us, you would think that this is messed up for us Israelites. But you got to remember, we came here because we messed up, and the Lord had it basically, ingrained to us a lesson of what happens if we break the laws and go away from Him, right? And this right here is a good explanation of what happened, right? This is Baruch 4:6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath. Ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God. Ye have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. So again, this is why we're here, Akim. This is why a lot of us have the same story as that man in the beginning. And that man in the video, he had that moment, and he was sharing that with his audience, right? And I'm sure a lot of you, Akim, like I said, have had that moment of clarity, as it's called, right? Where you realize that America isn't all that it's been cracked up to be. Now that we're here, right? The Israelites, the Lord has removed that curse from us, and He's gone ahead and started to wake us up. And why is that? Well, because again, though the Lord chastened us and punished us, put us through this, I guess you could say, this lesson by experience, the Lord has now saved us and redeemed us, and pretty soon He's going to give us the kingdom along alongside Yahweh Shai, which is the true Hebrew name for the Messiah, which is Hebrew for He is salvation. That's Yahweh Shai. Okay? So let's read this. This is Isaiah 45 and 17. But Israel shall be saved in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Okay? And this right here is saying how Israel, the Negro Latino Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, that your kingdom is in this next reset on the world society. Okay? In this next world to come, that's going to come after the Lord returns and destroys this wicked ass kingdom, the Lord's going to set up the Negro Latino Native Americans, the Israelites, to rule alongside the Messiah, and the world is going to be ran in a heaven-like state for the Israelites, and the other nations will go into captivity. Just like how we had to go to captivity, now it's their turn. And for Edom, right, for the wickedness, they will ultimately go extinct for their actions. That's another lesson for another day. So hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Shem Kokwadash. Shalom.